Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Chris was talking about how you text him late at night and he didn't realize maybe your work ethic before starting to work with you. I'm curious, he felt like maybe you're working more now than maybe you had 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Is that true? And if so, why?
Just everything's so much closer. You used to be able to build speed in your cars that separated you from the competition. Now with everything so similar, how else am I supposed to set myself apart from everyone else? I've got some talent, but I feel as though, the working part of it is how I separate myself, and understanding it's washing machines work real hard too, but that doesn't mean they're, always productive. It's like you gotta know what to look for. You gotta identify it and then go to work to fix it. And so that's where I feel like I'm good at is identifying the problem first. And all my problems essentially. My job is to find all my flaws, and then it's my job to then go fix them on the racetrack.
And whenever it comes that you do retire, are you going to miss that work?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there'll be a huge, huge void. I'll find something else to latch onto, but yeah, I mean, certainly I'm a results-based person, and, when I can come out here and race against guys like half my age, and be able to beat them, like that's very gratifying for me. That's what I'm gonna miss, and that'll be the toughest part about hanging it up.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and catchfence.com. You said you never know when it's going to be your last, and you kind of sound like Mark Martin, because when he was about your age, we started hearing that from him. But looking at
one for another 8 years.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going. Everybody, even the kids at JGR, say you outwork them, and you're going to be 45 in 2 months, and you're killing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Why would you want to even contemplate retirement when you're still at the top of your game?
There's just got to be a means to an end. I'm just not going to leave this sport on my deathbed. Just leaking oil, just running in the back of the pack. Like I have way too much pride for that. I'm way too cocky for that. There's just no way. I want to be able to win my last race, and to do that, I'm going to have to retire when I'm racing like this.
So walk off at Phoenix if you win the title?
Sure, absolutely. Sounds like a good way to end.
Go ahead, Dalton.
Hey, Denny. Don Hawkins, front stretch. Kind of like a similar question. Like lately suggested, it's not very often we see somebody at 44 winning 5 races in a year. What is it about you that does allow you to maintain that level of competitiveness and maintain being at the top of this sport?
I think that there's just some people that are, different. I talked about it at Dover in the post presser there that, I'm sure that there's someone more competitive than me. I just have never met them. There's just, I interact with enough drivers to know that, it's the hardest part of ownership is that I can't make them do what I want them to do. But, they have to want it on their own. They have to do it their way. And not everyone learns the same way. Some people are visual learners. Some people, listen and learn. Everyone's different. And so that's the toughest part is understanding that I've got the reins to the horse, but the horse is driving me as an owner instead of the other way around. So I just think that there's few people in every sport that are just built a little different, and they just won't settle for anything but winning.
That was like the second part of my question was going to be, you have so much on your plate with everything that's going on off track, managing a race team, having a family, and still running for a championship. What allows you to maintain that level of focus that you do?
Just knowing, that I've put up timeline on the end. You know, that to me has been the number one factor. And, you know, I talked to Harvick the other day, and I was just like, I knew exactly how many races were left. And it's like, you know, the countdown has begun. And I just don't want to end knowing, man, those last 70 races, I didn't really give it my all. I could have had 70 wins if I really buckled down and I really gave it all, you know, and I'm going to regret one day not having the wins that the work ethic kept me from doing. So that would weigh on me well beyond my driving career, and there's no way I could live with the weight on my shoulders knowing that I shipped it in for the last 70 or so races.
When you're talking about like having the countdown 70 to go, I assume that it's just kind of assuming that the next 2-year deal will be your last, right?
That's correct.
Do you have a countdown of 3 to go, of 3 more chances to win a title, or do you not, or is that not part of your countdown?
Not really. It's always been about number of races. I haven't thought about, the only one I thought about was this year in the Daytona 500, thinking that I'm probably only going to do this twice more. You know, just, you know, you Brickyards, right? I haven't won the freaking Brickyard, and it's like I'm going to have 2 more shots at it, and that's it to round this thing out. So there's certain races that I do have countdowns for. Championships isn't one of them. There's, you know, obviously it's well documented. I want to get the wins, and I feel like that will carry its weight long after. You know, when you compare me to someone that's maybe got 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 championships and half the wins, I don't think that person's better than I am.